Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. Whole bunch of stuff to talk about today. Is Billy Dee Williams preparing for episode 9? Maybe. Jay and Silent Bob Reboot has now got a release schedule and a shooting date. We've got a whole bunch of other stuff to talk about here as well. Migdalia Melendez had a little bit of a pet emergency, so she had to back out of today's show. Unfortunately, don't worry, she'll be back. So fact checker Jonathan Boyko is going to sit in with me on the movie news feed. But before we get to all that kind of stuff, let's go right off the top. It seems like it's becoming a standard thing for us to have to talk about around here about Moviepass becoming in more and more trouble. Now, we've heard all the different types of troubles, but now there's a new type of trouble. As the stock price of Moviepass's parent company, Helios and Matheson, has continued to drop. Today, as of this recording, the stock price of Helios and Matheson, which is, of course, the company that owns Moviepass, has dropped all the way down to 47 cents. Now, this is a far cry just from a couple of months ago. At the end of November, the stock price for Helios and Matheson was sitting at just over $15 a share, and then it began to drop. It had a little bit of recovery, and then it began to drop and drop and drop and drop, and now it's down to around 47 cents. On top of that, the market analysis for their stocks doesn't look good. I was reading this morning on Yahoo Finance that one stock market analyst was saying basically the business plan for Moviepass isn't sustainable and that they don't believe any savvy investor would want to invest in the company. Now, this on top of the heels that we've heard, they've only got another couple of months worth of operating expenses in their bank account. They say they have access to lines of credit that could extend that out. I think the bottom line here is the same song we've been singing for a while. If you have a Moviepass card, and I do, use it as much as you can in the next little while, because I firmly believe there's no way. I mean, I could be wrong about this. I'm speculating, but I don't believe there's any chance that this company is still around at the end of the year, and probably not around 3 months from now. I mean, maybe it will. I mean, fingers crossed for those of us who have Moviepass cards. But I mean, I think the news continues to be grim more and more and more. So the overlying message here is if you got a Moviepass card, don't just let it sit and collect dust in your wallet, my friends. Go to it and start using it. Okay, with that off the top story out of the way, let's get you caught up to date and get into today's movie news feed. First up, getting lost in the shuffle of news about the disappointing solo box office was the news that Avengers Infinity War came in at number 3 at the box office, taking in another $17 million, bringing its worldwide box office total up to an outstanding $1.91 billion as of this show. That means that Infinity War is now less than $100 million away from becoming just the 4th film in cinematic history to cross the incredible $2 billion mark. The other films in the $2 billion club are Star Wars: The Force Awakens at $2.07 billion, James Cameron's Titanic at $2.18 billion, and James Cameron's Avatar at $2.78 billion. Sometime this week, Infinity War should join those ranks. Jonathan, put this in context for us. How significant is this achievement for Avengers Infinity War and for the MCU?
I mean, when you're thinking about the context of this, literally thousands upon thousands of films have been released in cinematic history, and only 4 have reached the $2 billion mark. It's almost like a badge of honor for the MCU. You know, it's been said over and over, this is 10 years in the making is Avengers Infinity War. It's kind of become cliche. And you saw how viral all of these trailer reactions were going. You knew something was in the water. You knew something was going to be huge, and you knew people were waiting for this. Despite the kind of slump that Age of Ultron had, it was riding that wave of Black Panther, but it just had this culmination of 10 years and people wanting to see the fruition of this and Thanos. It shows how powerful their marketing was.
One of the interesting phrases there is validation. This is an incredible piece of validation for the MCU for a couple of reasons. Number one, it proves that Avengers and all the other films we've had in the MCU up to this point, it's no fluke. Like when the first Avengers came out and broke all those box office records, some people thought this can never be topped. They'll never get as this high again. And yet here we are now, 10 years later, and we had all these hit films coming, and now they put out their latest big culmination one, and it's about to join the $2 billion club, the highest peak of any MCU film that they've done so far. And I think that's the big thing. The most significant thing to this is the whole validation of everything that Kevin Feige and Disney and Marvel have done up until this point. That it hasn't just been a fluke here and there. It hasn't just been a lucky streak. It hasn't just been, oh, everybody likes comic book movies. Go look at the DCEU. It's not coming anywhere close to something like this. And this has just got to make Kevin Feige sit back and go, yeah, we've been doing something kind of right. Next up, a new TV spot for the upcoming Marvel Cinematic Universe film, Ant-Man and the Wasp, has just landed. The spot gives us a little more of a look at the dynamic and interaction between Ant-Man and Wasp, and gives us a few clues as to where their story may be heading. The synopsis for the film reads like this. In the aftermath of Captain America Civil War, Scott Lang grapples with the consequences of his choices as both a superhero and as a father. As he struggles to rebalance his life with his responsibilities as Ant-Man, he's confronted by Hope Van Dyne and Dr. Hank Pym with an urgent new mission. Scott must once again put on the suit and learn to fight alongside the Wasp as the team works together to uncover secrets from the past. Now, what I got out of this TV spot and the little bit of an insight it gives us into the film itself is that it looks like both Scott and Dr. Pym have probably been separated for a bit, whether that's because of the legal problems that Scott's having. He clearly has been working with Pym because they re-emphasize over and over in this TV spot that we need to work together. We need to come together. So whether they were divided just because of Scott's legal problems, because of the events of Captain America Civil War, or whether they had some kind of philosophical falling out, it looks like this whole new threat of Ghost is going to be bringing them back together again. I like this trailer and this TV spot a little bit more than what I have seen so far because I'll admit, as much as I absolutely adore Ant-Man, the first trailer two haven't really thrilled me, to be honest with you. There are a few good things in this trailer, though. It's on the upswing for me, so I'm liking what I'm seeing. What do you think, Jonathan?
As a rule, I typically avoid TV spots. However, I did watch this one. I think it's great. It almost reminded me Scott Lang's little spiel about his plan and his steps on what they need to achieve. It kind of reminds me of a little Star-Lord-esque
it really
feel
does,
to that.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
And I feel like people come to see the Ant-Man franchise now for some of the same reasons as Guardians. They love that ensemble, the interactions, the comedy, the humor, the timing, little more action probably and animation in Guardians of the Galaxy, but they just love these characters and how they interact. Especially, I think even Michael Pena is great in this franchise and his character, and it's just a smaller role. And I think this is going to be a smaller story in a sense compared to Infinity War, and even compared to Black Panther. It probably is not going to make as much as those two at all. And
nowhere close.
And I don't think it needs to, and I don't think they expect it to. But I think it's just going to be a fun summer movie to get us even closer to the next film in the MCU. I'm excited for it. I love what I see so far.
Next up, as many of you already know, filmmaker Kevin Smith has been working on a new Jay and Silent Bob film, this one to be titled Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. Kevin Smith revealed the new film will again follow Jay and Silent Bob across country as they try to stop Hollywood from making a reboot of the film they originally made in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, if you're keeping up. Smith said the following. It's literally the same fucking movie all over again. It's a movie that makes fun of sequels and remakes and reboots while being all three at the same time. Jay and Silent Bob is set to start shooting later this summer. Jonathan, is it time for Jay and Silent Bob to return, or is this a franchise that should just stay, silent?
I'm never opposed to Jay and Silent Bob. I'm never opposed to Kevin Smith and what he produces. I feel the same way with his productions as I do with the guys behind Beer Fest and
that's a nice comparison. I like that. Yeah.
And Super Troopers. Now, it's that comedy's not for everyone. I personally love the comedy of both of those productions. I don't believe Super Troopers 2 made all that much money. I don't believe that this reboot is going to make all that much money either, because if you look back in 2001 was the last Jay and Silent Bob film. It was on a budget of $22 million. I'm pretty sure that's not including marketing. And I believe it pulled about $33 million.
I didn't even know it cost that much to make.
Yeah. So, is this going to be something that's going to make a lot of money? Probably not. Maybe from a financial standpoint, it's not the smartest thing. But man, I'm glad that this man survived his heart attack. I love his humor. I love the work that he puts out. I'm in full support of this film. I just don't know that it's going to be for everyone, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, nothing from Kevin Smith is ever for everyone. And I'll admit, I haven't been as keen as some of the other stuff he's been trying to do. And full marks to him as a director for trying new things, going into like the horror genre, whether it's with Red State or Walrus or things like that. I think it was called Walrus. Is that what it was called?
Tusk.
Tusk. Thank you. Tusk. I haven't been as big on those, to be quite honest with you. But when you're talking about things like Chasing Amy, or you're talking about things like Clerks, and Clerks 2, I know this is counter to a lot of other people. Clerks 2 is my favorite film of his. I absolutely adore that film. If he can recapture some of that magic, and I've got to believe that they're going to probably make this thing for south of $10 million. And if they can make this movie for south of $10 million, I think it's probably going to be a no-brainer that they'll probably make money on it. Now, aside from that, just as a fan, I'm looking forward to seeing him revisit these characters again. It's always nice going back. And yeah, why not? If there's an audience there for it, go for it. Next up, this next story is really, well, just pure speculation, but it's speculation with some substance. At a recent convention, actor Billy Dee Williams, most famous for playing Lando Calrissian in the Star Wars trilogy, revealed that he has recently begun a new workout regimen that includes working out with a personal trainer 3 times a week and a completely new diet. This is unusual for an 81-year-old to do. However, as some speculators are quick to point out, it is eerily similar to what Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill embarked on when they knew they had to prepare for Star Wars The Force Awakens. With Episode 9 going into production soon, some online sites are speculating that Billy Dee Williams is preparing to return as Lando one last time in Episode 9. Is he coming back? Again, at this point, it's just all pure speculation, but I'm going to speculate. Yeah, I totally believe he's going to be coming back. Here's the thing. On top of the fact that this looks eerily similar to Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill and what they started to do when they had to get ready to appear on big screen again, particularly in a Star Wars film, that's there too. But on top of that, Billy Dee has been at every single official Star Wars event that I've been to yet. That includes the premieres, the special big press stuff that has gotten everybody talking about. Every time they see him, it's like, is he going to be in this movie? Is he going to be in this movie? And he never was. But he has stayed connected to the Star Wars universe. Most recently, he did the voice of Lando in the Star Wars Rebels TV show again. So I think, again, this is all pure speculation. There is no proof or evidence to base this on whatsoever. But I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to guess that, yes, Billy Dee will be appearing as Lando in Star Wars Episode 9. That's what I'm sticking with. Jonathan, what do you think?
I echo those thoughts and feelings. I want to see him in 9. We didn't get him in the first one, and in Force Awakens. I think a lot of people were hoping in The Last Jedi we'd see him, maybe a la Empire Strikes Back. He came back in the second part of that trilogy. Maybe didn't get him in this. I do hope if he does come back that they don't kill him off. Let the let the character, if he's going to pass at some point, die of natural causes somewhere.
Off camera.
And peacefully.
Not all the original characters have to die on screen.
Yeah. I mean, and so I'm looking forward to this. They have kept the character alive. You're right. And I remember his little run on Rebels. There was also a comic book line for Lando recently in the last couple of years. And, I think the last time I saw him on camera was on an episode of Comic Book Men. So I think it would be a good idea if he does get in shape, because he was seeming a little stiff. And full respect, not even trying to make fun of him, but he, you do want that man to be in good health, because it's stressful to be on a big picture like that. So all more power to him. And if he is just doing it for his own health, then more power to him again, because we want to keep seeing him at these conventions.
And you know what's funny? The last time I saw him on camera was actually on an episode of Modern Family. I believe he played himself on Modern Family. I think so. And he still sounds as smooth and debonair as ever. Next up, and I got to give you a warning here first, this next topic includes a spoiler from Avengers Infinity War. So if you haven't seen that film yet and still intend to, just be warned, maybe fast forward a few minutes. Okay, on we go. Actress Letitia Wright, who plays the Black Panther's sister and smartest character in the MCU, Shuri, recently spoke at the MCM Comic-Con show in London, possibly revealing that her character becomes the ruler of Wakanda after the events of Infinity War, when she said the following. I was like, what's this Disney princess pressure? Do I have to be perfect? Then I realized that everyone's just so geeked out about having a different kind of female character in the Marvel universe and the Disney universe. And there's going to be much, much more. I'm not the only Disney princess to come to the surface and claim that title. I'm so honored, seriously. I grew up on the Disney movies and grew up with the Disney princesses, and they didn't really look like me. But now you can go and buy action figures and say, this is a Disney princess. Right on. So, Jonathan, did Letitia Wright just let a little Avengers 4 spoiler slip? And if so, what do we think of Shuri as a monarch of Wakanda?
Well, first off, it's possible she let it slip. You never know. I mean, when it comes to the MCU, unless I feel Kevin Feige says it, and sometimes even then, it's not official.
Right.
She was answering a question at a convention. She did mention that it did occur in the comics, and that's true, that her character is the Queen of Wakanda for a time in the comics.
And maybe if you look at her words a certain way, maybe she's talking about the comics and not the movies.
Yeah, and she's referencing also about a Disney princess, not a Disney queen. So she is a princess currently. I'm not opposed to it. I think it's a great idea. And honestly, even if she did become the Queen of Wakanda, I think we pretty much all know that it would be a temporary position, because I'm pretty sure Black Panther is going to get resurrected. So ultimately, does it really matter even if you're against it? I don't know why you would be. I think she's an amazing character, and I think she deserves to be queen.
See, I love the character. Her and M'Baku were probably two of my favorite characters in Black Panther. I absolutely adore the Shuri character. Now, when some people were asking me about whether or not she could become the ruler of Wakanda, I had my doubts, simply because as a character, she doesn't seem like ruling is her gig. She feels like she just strikes me as the type of character who feels far more at home in her lab than she would in a throne room. On top of that, if M'Baku, who was a rightful challenger to the throne, if he wanted the throne, Shuri couldn't beat him in combat. Like, he came within a hair of beating T'Challa in one-on-one combat. So I had my doubts. However, if M'Baku has a newfound respect for her, if she really does want to be queen, if for whatever reason T'Challa left behind some kind of will saying, I want her to be I mean, who knows, a lot of possibilities. If she does end up being the new ruler of Wakanda, great, because that would just give an excuse to have more screen time for her. Anything to have more screen time for her and M'Baku, I'm totally on board with. That's great. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I completely agree with you, Jonathan. I think a lot of people are missing that. There are possible multiple meanings. The fact that she says princess, not queen. The fact that she does allude to the comic books instead of the movies. Maybe she's talking about the comic books. So maybe she let something slip. Maybe she didn't let anything slip. And that'll do it for today's installment of the Movie News Feed. And now you are all caught up to date on all the stuff going on in movie news. Now we got some main topics here to get to today. And of course, the main topics on the John Campea Show are submitted by you guys. You guys send in what the main topics are. How do you submit a topic or question to possibly be on the John Campea Show? It's simple. Just email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com, and make sure you write the word topic in the subject line. That way I know you're sending it in for the show. And as always, guys, keep those emails to 90 words or less. All right, with that out of the way, let's go to the first email today. And the first email today comes to us from one of our Patreon supporters, Jeremiah Sneed, who writes, what is the strategy for movies to be put out on digital, even Blu-ray, while still in theaters? Jumanji did it, even promoted the fact that it was available digitally and in theaters. And now Black Panther out on Blu-ray and still in theaters. Why? Disney wants Black Panther to hit 700 million domestic. Okay, so here's the thing. When they've got these movies, these studios plan these things out well in advance. When you have a release date for something, you gear up your marketing machine, you gear up your distribution, you gear up all that kind of stuff, production, distribution, all your channels to target that date, all right? Now, there's a basic rule. I think it's a 12-week rule. There's a basic rule that says that movie studios cannot release their movies on home video for at least, it's around 12 weeks. I can't remember the specific amount of time, but it's about 12 weeks from when it opens in a theater. So most studios target that 12-week date because most movies are not still in theaters by the time those 12 weeks pass. The vast, vast, vast majority of movies are not still in theaters. So what happens is they have their home video release dates targeted. They've got all the products shipped out to Targets and Walmarts and all the stores and all that kind of stuff. All the streaming services know when they can launch this thing. That's not a date you can change. You can't suddenly say to Walmart, oh, we know we just shipped you all these millions of units of this movie, but do us a favor and don't start selling them for a few more weeks. Just have them sitting in your warehouses. Like, you can't do that. So what happens is you've got a couple of circumstances like a Black Panther, which nobody saw Black Panther having the kind of run that it did, or Jumanji. Nobody saw Jumanji having the kind of run it did, but those are very, very rare exceptions. So when you get to those target dates of when the home video release is supposed to be, streaming and of course then Blu-ray and digital, the movies just surprise everybody and are still in theaters when nobody expected them to still be in theaters. So it's not like the board members of these studios are going, let's release the home video now. And then they just suddenly do it. No, this is planned months and months and months and months in advance. And then a machine has to go into the process to hit those dates, get the product out to where they need to be, all that kind of stuff. It's just what happens every once in a small while is that a movie is able to stay in theaters long enough that you actually might get a little bit of overlap. So it's not a premeditated judgment. It's just that it's a very good problem to have. It's the problem that, oh my gosh, our movie ended up staying in theaters longer than we anticipated. People kept going to see it longer than we anticipated. It's a problem, but it's a good problem to have. So that's why you see that happen sometimes. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next email today comes to us from JC Mena, who writes, given all the quote-unquote premium options to theaters like IMAX, D-Box, Prime, and others, do the studios make more from those prices, or do they have a fixed profit per ticket and the theater makes extra cash? All right. Now, as a lot of you guys know, I used to work with AMC theaters. I asked them a question like this once. My general understanding from the answer I got from these guys was basically this. With each movie, there's an agreed upon percentage that the studios get back from the price of a movie ticket. So, if the studio's percentage is 20% and they charge $5 for a movie ticket, then, 20%, give me a break. If it would never be 20%. Let's say the studio's cut is 60%, all right? And the movie theater sells a ticket for $5, then $3 of those dollars, 60%, goes back to the studio. If they sell their ticket for $15, then the studio gets $9 of those dollars, 60% of it. If it's a premium screening like their Prime and they charge $20 for the ticket, well, then it's still the 60%. So at that case, it'll be $12 of that $20 ticket will go back to the movie studios. So the best of my understanding from the last time I was working in the industry, which was a couple of years ago, granted, so things may have changed, but the best of my understanding is that there's a fixed percentage. So regardless of whatever you sell those tickets for, that percentage of the ticket price goes back to the studios. Now, I'm sure there are exceptions. I'm sure there are details I don't know about or that I'm forgetting about, but to the best of my understanding, that generally speaking is the way that works. Hope that's helpful. All right, let's move on to the final email question today. And the final email question today comes to us from Sherri Amir, who writes, hey, Johns, greeting from Cambridge, Ontario. Well, greetings. I love Cambridge, Ontario. My question was, where do you think Baron Mordo was during the events of Infinity War? We saw him take a villainous turn in the awesome Doctor Strange post-credit scene, and I'd love to see more of Chiwetel Ejiofor in the MCU. Thanks, John, for the great content. Love the show. And you know what I just found out? My wife and I have been watching Handmaid's Tale recently, and I was going to say something, but I'm not. We have recently been watching Handmaid's Tale, and I just found out last night that they actually shoot that show in my hometown of Hamilton, Ontario, and in Cambridge, Ontario. I did not know that. So that was a pleasant surprise for me to find out. Anyway, getting on to Mordo. Here is the big problem that I normally have with the shared cinematic universes. Is that eventually, whenever you get a movie, everybody starts asking, where was Captain America? Why didn't Thor come? Where was Mordo? That's really the thing that happens. Whenever you get these big cinematic universes, which is why I'm desperately crying out for some separate universes. I'm starting to get turned off both in the MCU and the DCU by the idea that every 7-Eleven has 7 superheroes in it. Like there's literally a superhero on every corner in every city. And I'm getting a little bit tired of that, but at any rate, there's no superhero special anymore. Like I remember, and I'm going off on a bit of a rant here, but I remember back during Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, Spider-Man was unique. You know, in Man of Steel, Superman was unique. When you talk about these different movies, there's something exceptionally unique. This is the one person in the world who is so extraordinary and different. And now it's like, oh, you have the ability to lift a bus over your head? Oh, you're like one in every 15,000. I mean, yeah, you're just common. Ho hum, anyway. Where was Chiwetel Ejiofor's character? Oh, who knows? Like, we got to keep in mind here that the events of Avengers Infinity War, it seems like they happen in a very small period of time. Like, it feels like it all happens, like, in the span of a day. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's like 2 days, 3 days, whatever. But, like, if Chiwetel Ejiofor, if Mordo was, like, somewhere, say he was in Spain somewhere, hunting down another sorcerer, then by the time he even heard about it, what's he going to do about it? Like, he couldn't really get into the fight even if he wanted to at that point. So he could have been anywhere doing anything. Who knows? Same with every other character. But it is one of the frustrations for me of these shared cinematic superhero universes that whenever there's a movie that comes out, everybody's asking, where are all the other characters? Shouldn't they all be there too? And it's like, yeah, so that's kind of one of my frustrations of that. All right, guys, that'll do it for the email questions. I got about 10 minutes left here. We're going to go now into some live questions. You guys have been firing in live questions, so let's go and get to those right now with what time we have left. Jacob Nagel writes, do you think there will be any Muppet cameos in HTM? Happy Time Murders? No, I doubt it. As a matter of fact, the Jim Henson Company has just threatened to sue. I think they're bringing a lawsuit against the producers of Happy Time Murders because they used the phrase in their marketing, all street, no sesame, right? So referencing Sesame Street, and they're getting sued just over that. So I don't know for a fact, but my best guess right now is that we're probably not going to see any like Muppets in Happy Time Murders. Mason Kackman writes, so you don't like Inhumans, who does, or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I never heard your thoughts on Agent Carter. Thanks. I liked Agent Carter. Yeah, I did. That was the one network Marvel show that I actually thought was pretty good. I didn't love the season finale of season 1. And I'll be honest, I wasn't all that into season 2, but I really did quite like season 1 quite a bit. I like the direction they went with it. Zombatron 5678 writes, if you watch the ancestral plane in Black Panther, it appears that there are women there, although it's hard to tell because of some of the outfits. See, I brought this up before because we were talking about in a previous discussion about could Shuri become the head of Wakanda, the queen of Wakanda. I remember saying, I honestly don't know if they ever allowed women to rule in Wakanda. I just didn't know. And then I remember, and I said, well, you know what? There is this vision, these 2 scenes of visions in the ancestral plane, and I can't remember if there are women there or not, because if there are women there, that answers that question. And sure enough, there are women in that scene. So I believe that means, yeah, they could be queens. Again, I mean, you would have to go through ritualistic combat. If M'Baku wanted the throne, Shuri couldn't beat M'Baku in combat. Like, T'Challa barely got out of that fight with his life against M'Baku. So M'Baku would clearly win. So you'd have to have a situation where M'Baku's like, no, I like you. You can be queen. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they work that out. Bernard Gayton. Let's see where, yeah, Bernard Gayton writes, hey, John, avid watcher. Girlfriend occasionally watches with me as well. But when a movie comes out now, she always asks, what did Campea think or say? Bernard, I'm going to tell you right now, you found yourself a keeper. Put a ring on that one. You put a ring on that one. You found yourself a very smart life partner. You got to lock that one down. I'm just going to tell you that right now, my friend. Dimsum05 writes, does Marvel Studios run their movie productions like TV shows where writers' visions rule? Is that maybe why they are successful at what they do? Well, actually, Dimsum, you're not far off. You're not far off, in my opinion, at any rate. It's not so much the writers, it's Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige gives oversight to the long-range plans of everything he wants, and the writers ultimately answer to Kevin Feige about what he wants. And so then, he makes sure him and his directors are on the same page, that the directors understand his vision, and then he gives the directors a certain amount of leeway to put their own creativity into it as well. Then together they work with the writers to make sure the script is all in line. So it kind of runs like a TV show in the sense that there is one guy behind the scenes who is navigating all of it and making sure it's all coherent and it's all put together the right way. And in that sense, yes, but not like TV shows in the sense where that the writers really do have free range. They don't. Everybody answers to Kevin Feige over there. Tasty Dash writes, with the release of Ant-Man and the Wasp, can you make a video ranking the 20 MCU movies? I don't think there are 20. There's a huge huge gap in between Ant-Man and Captain Marvel. Yeah, I could probably do that. I mean, the frustration with doing top 10, top 20 videos is that everybody hates them because my list is not going to look like I remember this one time, I was doing this like top 10 films of the year list a couple of years ago, right? And I put together my top 10 films of the year. And this one guy, his list was almost exactly the same as mine. This one viewer, right? Except I think what movie I had in the number like 6 spot, he had in like the number 3 spot, right? Everything else was almost identical, but what I had as number 6, he had as number 3. But besides that, almost identical, like it was uncanny. And oh my God, this hate spewed message this dude sent me, you're a fucking idiot, and blah, blah. If you think that's number 6 and not number 3, you don't know. You've lost all credibility, blah, 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 blah. And that was just from one guy, from one movie being just a couple of spots out from where he put that one movie and everything else was identical. You can imagine the types of emails and messages I get whenever I put together any type of a top 10, top 15, top whatever list. Because all film is subjective, and so all of us, our lists are going to look different. And people do not like it. Oh my God, I am telling you, people do not like it when your list doesn't look like theirs. I mean, it's hard enough talking about one movie, and if you don't, like I remember this one time I even gave this one movie like a 7.5 or something, and getting these hate-filled messages saying, this movie's an 8.5, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, your score is literally 1 point off from mine. It's like, so it is a little bit of a pain in my ass to do these top 10, top 20 videos because people are children. I mean, people are just idiots when it comes to how they handle when your thing doesn't look exactly like theirs because they're so weak-minded. They feel like, you're invalidating my list by making a list that looks different than mine. You're invalidating my list. No, I'm not. It's just that your opinion's different. It's perfectly fine. No, you're invalidating me. I mean, it's frustrating, but yeah, why not? You're right. There is a big gap between Ant-Man and the Wasp and our next MCU film. So, yeah, maybe I'll do something like that. We'll have to wait and see. John Hain writes, just got 3 minutes left here, guys. Going to the 140 of Deadpool 2, 4 p.m. of Solo, and 7 p.m. of Infinity War. Never done a triple feature. Have you? Love the shows. Have a good one. That's a great... First of all, you're going to like all these movies. These are all really good movies. My favorite of those is the first one you're going to see, which is Deadpool 2. That's my favorite of the bunch. So you're jumping off on a good foot there. I think you're going to have a great time today. This is going to be a good day for you. The only times I have done triple headers is when I've been at film festivals. Like at film festivals, I've done triple headers. I can't remember if I've done like a triple header just in a regular, like I've done a number of double headers, but triple headers, I can't remember off the top of my head if I have or not. Certainly at film festivals I have, but I can't remember if I've just done it at a regular screening day. Let's see here. Cameron Peterson writes, will the positive word of mouth of Solo carry it? Well, it'll carry it to a degree. It'll carry it to a degree, but look, this movie's not going to break even. This Solo movie's not going to break even. It's going to lose money. And again, I had to say this on open mic the other day, but some people saying, but John, doesn't it just have to make like $400 million? If they didn't go back and reshoot 80% of the movie, maybe $450 million would have been break even. But the fact of the matter is, when they went back and almost reshot the entire movie, you're looking at a shooting budget. Some people are saying 250. I think it's actually closer to 300 million. I think it's probably about the same as what Justice League ended up spending because of all the reshoots. So now you're looking at a Solo film that to break even probably needs to come in closer to $600 or $650 million just to break even. It ain't going to do that. It deserves to. It's a good enough film to deserve that, yes, but it's not going to. Make no mistake. And can positive word of mouth, because most of the feedback coming out of Solo is positive. Will that carry it? Yes, to a degree, but not enough to carry it into profitability. This movie's going to lose money. It's going to be the first Star Wars movie to lose money. So everybody just better brace themselves for that. It's just the reality. You can't open to these types of numbers. And you can have good legs and good word of mouth to sustain it, but you can only do that to a certain degree. So no, I mean, it will carry it to lessen the losses, but make no mistake, this movie's going to lose money. Muse Tack Reviews writes, new DC streaming service is coming. Yay. I Wait, can't I'm not sure what you're writing here. Can't access it in Australia. What do I do, John? Wouldn't they make more money by giving us access? Well, here's what people don't understand about these networks. It's not like Warner Brothers is going, screw Australia. We don't want them to be able to see our network. No, Warner Brothers isn't doing that. It's that you have to secure certain rights to broadcast in their country. And even when you're a streaming service, you got to follow certain rules or whatever. And if for whatever reason they're not in a position right now where they're allowed to broadcast their service there, then they're just not allowed. Believe me, it's not Warner Brothers going, screw Australia. No, that's not it at all. They would love to broadcast their thing to everybody in the world, but there are rules and regulations that govern each individual market that may make it easier or more difficult or impossible in some cases for them to provide their service in that other country. What the particulars are of Warner Brothers streaming service in Australia are, I don't know, but those are always unique situations. So what do? I guarantee this. Their program, much like CBS All Access, with the streaming service that has Star Trek Discovery, there are countries that CBS All Access is not allowed to be in. So what they did was, those countries, Netflix is allowed to carry their shows in those countries. So what I would expect, I don't know this for a fact, but what I would expect is that the shows that are going to be streaming on the WB service, and if the WB service isn't allowed to be in Australia, then other networks that do broadcast there will probably get the rights from Warner Brothers, will probably sell them the rights to broadcast those specific shows in your country. So I wouldn't worry about it too much, because just like CBS All Access in countries that can't get CBS All Access, there are other networks that are allowed to carry their programming. And so you're allowed to see Star Trek Discovery anyway. By the way, Star Trek Discovery is pretty damn good. You should check it out. So I fully expect we'll have the same type of situation here for the Warner Brothers streaming service. The Mad Titan writes, do you have an opinion about Campea from Knights of the Old Republic 2? She's the best Star Wars character of all time, in my opinion. I'll be honest with you. It's been so long since I played Knights of the Old Republic. I mean, I just have no opinion about it. It's been, frickin' forever since I played it. Rabbit Jawa writes, thoughts on a shared universe of Greek mythos with potential for an Avengers-style team-up with heroes like Hercules, Achilles. They've been trying Greek mythology movies, and none of them have hit. None of them have hit. Now, look. Anything can work. If a movie about plastic building blocks, Legos, can be a movie, anything can be a movie, and anything can work if you give it the right execution. So yeah, theoretically, that could work. I don't see a studio doing it though, because it seems like almost anything that they've done with Greek mythology has never panned out well box office-wise. There may be exceptions that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head for sure, but it just generally seems like that's not something that would sell. It seems like it would be something ridiculously expensive to make and wouldn't necessarily sell very well. So I don't think it's something that they would do. All right, guys, that will do it for today's show. For those of you who sent in live questions that I didn't get a chance to get around to, don't worry about it. I'm going to take those questions and they will be used in the next companion video. For those of you who've been waiting for it, a new companion video went up earlier this morning, so that's on there as well. So I'll take these questions and include them in the next companion video. All right, guys, that will do it for today's show. Listen, do me a favor. If you guys enjoy my programming, do me a favor and head on over to www.patreon.com/John Campea. While you're there, get all the information about what it means to be a Patreon supporter, how being a Patreon supporter keeps this show in the air, and also the benefits of being a Patreon supporter, one of which is Star Wars Talk is now just for my Patreon supporters, and the first Star Wars Talk goes up today on our Facebook group, our Patreon supporter Facebook group. The new Star Wars Talk goes up on there today. Watch out there. Other benefits include audio-only versions of our shows that you can't get anywhere else. Of course, access to the Facebook group, some behind-the-scenes videos, little things like that. You get announcements from me a little bit ahead of time than what I give to everybody else. So check that out. And if you become a Patreon supporter, awesome. And if not, that's perfectly fine. I'm just really happy and grateful and honored that you're here being a film fan with us. All right, guys, that will do it for me for now. Don't forget, 2 p.m. today is open mics. Make sure you come on back for that. My name's John Campea. Thanks a lot for joining me, and until the next video, bye-bye.